here's the thing. For everybody listening, don't make the same mistake the Bengals just did in any facet of your life.
People are going to get hurt. It's the hockey season.
What about the Jared Cook play on the sideline?
I was very tempted to just put defense.
I'm saying it right now. If Anthony Davis is out for the playoffs, they don't make it out of the first round.
Come on, Austin and I have been saying this ever since Joe Burrow got injured.
I don't really think the Dodgers are going to make the World Series this year. I feel like they'll make it to the NLCS.
The Fernando Tatis extension, because that really surprised me.
Like you said, Ovechkin, he's getting older. He hasn't been playing as well as I imagined. He's one of the greatest goal scorers of all time, but he hasn't started off this season as hot as I would hope.
Hi, I'm Jeff Allen, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. I'm Kevin, and sadly, Austin is not here. Once again, he is still sick, and he is really sick because he wouldn't be missing it if he was just had a cold. But everything is fine, just taking some time to recover. But we do have a familiar face and someone that may be a little bit sad today. I know Blaise stinks to lose, and of course, the man I'm talking about is Blaise Fields from Mixed Doubles. Thanks for joining me, Blaise.
Kevin, it's a pleasure to be here as always. Nice to, actually give some opinions on the Outsiders Opinions podcast. But here we are.
All right, so let's just kind of talk about what are your opinions on the Chiefs right now?
I think this is a team that is in a very good spot. They've beat tough opponents. They beat Baltimore. They're the top dog in the division. They've faced off against, really the top class AFC teams, and unfortunately you can't win them all, right? They lose to a Bills team that also looks top of the class, but the Chiefs are missing some pieces right now. They're missing guys like Charles Omenihu, who I think is going to be a huge piece of this defensive line. They're missing Hollywood Brown, who should be coming back in the playoffs, and they're missing probably one of their best offensive weapons in Isaiah Pacheco as well, who will be coming back next week. So this is to me a time where the Chiefs kind of just need to figure out what their offensive identity is going to look like as pieces keep shuffling around. DeAndre Hopkins, Kareem Hunt were major pieces of this offense over the past couple weeks. They were not here when the season started. This is very much a learn as you go kind of team, and Andy Reid is at his best when he has to adapt. So.
Yeah, and they've done a great job adapting. You mentioned Pacheco, and Kareem Hunt has filled in very nicely, just kind of coming off free agency. And then you, of course, have the DeAndre Hopkins trade. We have talked before about the DeAndre Hopkins because I still don't see the fit in what he brings to the Chiefs offense. I know he's been great, but something...
Well, let me ask you this question. Did you see how Rashee Rice fit into this offense?
Yes.
I think that DeAndre Hopkins and Rashee Rice play very similar roles in the sense that whenever you're throwing to this guy, you know for a fact he's going to catch the ball, right? He's not your speed guy. That's Xavier Worthy, who, Mahomes and Worthy, they've been working on that connection, and I think once it really, really gets going, this is going to be a huge focal point of the offense. We've seen Xavier Worthy go from getting a jet sweep or two to now actually getting a plus amount of targets, and I think his connection is only going to deepen. But I think DeAndre Hopkins serves as that WR2 guy who whenever you're throwing to him, he's going to go up and get the ball.
Yeah, he does go up and get the ball, and it was an upgrade just given where y'all were at wide receiver position. To me, I think they're still missing that dynamic, which maybe Hollywood Brown brings us in. Because Rashee Rice would catch the ball, but to me, he was also a guy that could get yards after the catch. And Hopkins is still good, but to me, at his age, he doesn't have quite that speed that Rice had.
Yeah, he is a little bit slower, but he also just does not drop the ball, though. Rashee Rice, you would see one or two plays where you can tell this is still a very, very, young player. And I think that DeAndre Hopkins also just has the football knowledge of going where Patrick Mahomes wants him to. There was the touchdown catch he had, I think it was against, Tampa Bay. Yeah, the touchdown catch he had against Tampa Bay, that was an ad-lib route where he kind of moved upfield because he saw something in the defense. That's the kind of stuff you're not going to get out of those rookie guys like Xavier Worthy or even those younger guys like Rashee Rice. So I think that having that veteran presence, although again, like you said, he's not as talented as he was maybe a couple years back, I think is very helpful for a Chiefs offense that really just needed anybody to go out there.
Yeah, you do bring up a good point, and you did talk about Amenahu coming back. To me, the Chiefs, they've really been the key is their defense, and their offense does just enough, and I think that's where they struggled against the Bills. And
Yeah, I think the Bills did a good job of exposing kind of what doesn't work in the Chiefs defense, right? They know that on big high pressure plays, the Chiefs are going to bring pressure. And you saw that on that 4th and 2. They brought a lot of pressure. They knew that Josh Allen was maybe going to run the ball, so they threw it into zone. And it just gave Josh Allen enough wiggle room to break off that massive run, right? I think that the Chiefs defense, it is very good, don't get me wrong. But I think that, they've had some injuries in the secondary, and, you've got Najee Johnson out there getting cooked by Amari Cooper like it's nobody's business. I think that kind of stuff is going to bite him come playoff time. But I think if they are able to batten it down, the Chiefs will be fine.
yeah, I do think they'll be fine in the regular season. I am interested to see how they rebound off the loss. I'm not sure how you felt about they were going for undefeated. I always get nervous when a team's undefeated for so long.
Yeah, I think that if this was any other season, I would be a little bit more weary about losing the undefeated streak. Like, obviously going 17-0 and then, winning a Super Bowl would be an absolutely massive achievement. But at the same time, the Chiefs are already going for something history-making that has nothing to do with the regular season record, right? They want to be the first team to hit a three-peat. And I think that added expectation of, oh, but we don't want to ruin the perfect record by taking risks or doing X, Y, and Z. I think that added pressure being off is probably going to help a little bit.
Yeah, and they do have a couple, the Panthers, and how do you feel about Mahomes this season? Just his performance so far.
I think on one hand, you kind of have to work with what you're given. This is an offense that looks way different than what it was supposed to look like whenever the season started. I think that there is a little bit of trouble on the offensive line. The interior of the offensive line is one of the best in football. But you look at your tackles, Juwan Taylor, he's been a little bit of a penalty machine in recent weeks. You look at your left tackle, you had the rookie, the Kingsley Suamata, who was not very good. You're just kind of rotating people in at left tackle. I think that the kind of worry around those exterior tackle positions has kind of put Patrick Mahomes in a little bit of a fight or flight mode, right? I don't think he fully trusts the offensive line, and it leads to those mistakes that you've seen. The first pick against Buffalo, I think, was solely he felt the pressure, tried to make a 1 in a million throw, and he missed, right? So I'm not really worried about him. This kind of stuff, this is still a very efficient offense. This is an offense that isn't the big play machine that, Patrick Mahomes was really popular in his rookie sophomore season, whatever you want to count that as, right? I think this is an offense that's built on just getting the first downs, winning time of possession. People aren't used to seeing that out of Patrick Mahomes, right? So, I'm not really worried. I'd rather see, Patrick Mahomes take risks and throw interceptions than not throw interceptions and lose. But this is also an NFL season where defenses are cracking down on the passing offense. Guys aren't hitting 300 yards in a game like they used to. Guys aren't throwing 4 touchdowns in a game like they used to, right? So he's not the best quarterback in the league at the moment. He might not even be top 5, but for a fact whenever Patrick Mahomes has the ball, there is a shot, no matter what the score is, that the Chiefs are going to win the football game. I think that is very valuable.
Yeah, especially he's done that in the playoffs against the Bills as well. I'm sure Bills fans are that's burned into their memory. My other thing would be, if you had to give top 3, maybe top 5, who do you think are the scary teams in the AFC right now?
I think if I had to rank them out of 5, I would still put the Chiefs at number 1, just given their playoff prowess, right? It's just like the Patriots back, 10, 15 years ago, right? You always knew that the Patriots had a shot at winning the Super Bowl no matter what was happening. You over the course of their season, right? I just think that Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, like that is an echelon of coach quarterback duos that it's going to take a lot to beat them, right? And I have not there's nothing I've seen out of this Chiefs team that has led me to think that this team can't compete for a Super Bowl. But outside of that, I mean, you look at Pittsburgh, they are a very, very scary team, right? Russell Wilson has looked very good. They've also got another capable quarterback in Justin Fields, right? A lot of teams don't even have a competent quarterback. Steelers got two, right? Their defense is also very good. I think that they just have the perfect mix of defensive talent at the skill positions, and just really, really good quarterback play. I think this is a team that will probably make the AFC Championship game. I'd put Buffalo at number 3, right? I've seen a lot of good things out of Buffalo. I've also seen a lot of bad things. Not a lot of bad things, but, you go back to the game against the Texans, just was not their finest effort. They barely beat the Jets by 3. This is a team that I very much like. I think the acquisition of Amari Cooper makes them very scary, but I just don't know. I mean, they got beat by the Ravens by 25, right? Like, I just don't know if this is a team that I trust in the playoffs yet. We haven't seen anything out of Josh Allen in the playoffs that has really made me go, yup, he could win a Super Bowl. So this is the year to prove me wrong, though. So I'm putting them at number 3. I put Baltimore at number 4. Baltimore, their offense is very scary, and if their defense plays like it did against the Steelers, where it was battening down the hatches and making things really tough on the Steelers, like if Justin Tucker makes one of those 2 missed field goals, they're at the top of the division, right? So to me, I think that Baltimore is very, very scary. Got the former MVP, got Derrick Henry. This is a good team, right? And then I think my 5th scariest team, I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers, their identity is so close to being a Super Bowl contender, right? They're still missing some pieces, but they're very, very good. We've seen Justin Herbert play at a very, very high level. J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards and their offensive line just offer that great 1-2 punch as well. And their defense, I think, is good enough to hold up against some very, very tough teams. I mean, you look at the Bengals, right? They did enough to beat the Bengals. And the Bengals are a very, very tough team. They're a team that is, hanging on by a thread. They're trying to win every game like it's the Super Bowl, because they know missing the playoffs is kind of likely for Cincinnati. So seeing the Chargers right now, they're on a four game winning streak. They're low key an underdog team. I could see them making a semi deep playoff run, but just let Jim Harbaugh cook on this team a little bit more. They may have a shot to dethrone the Chiefs in the AFC West in a couple years. So we'll see.
Yeah, and we've said that about the Chargers before, of like, oh, this may be them putting it together. We'll have to see. And then after that, it gets really rough of just the other rankings around them. I am questionable about the Bills. I know Josh Allen hasn't really turned over the ball, but I am concerned with Sean McDermott, and I would almost put the Ravens above the Bills. I understand Bills above Ravens, but I like Lamar Jackson, even though he has struggled in the playoffs. This is basically 2 quarterbacks that are going to have big it's going to be a big year for them depending on what they do in the playoffs, because one of them is going to lose. Then I do agree about the Steelers, because you have Mike Tomlin, who is, I would say, second best coach, top coach, and all they need for the Steelers is just not turning over the ball, and they have that veteran experience with Russell Wilson, because the defensive front for the Steelers with TJ Watt can definitely cause some trouble with the Chiefs. I do agree Chiefs are number 1. I am concerned about the offense, but I don't think they've reached their best, which is also scary, because you have Andy Reid, who's a fantastic play caller, and you have Mahomes, and we've talked about just it's not his best season right now. He has thrown some interceptions that are weird. That one was weird, and I think it was him just making a play in the Bills game. But you got to give deference to them, because they are 2-time champions. Mahomes has won it 3 times.
And I always go back to last season, too. I mean, last season people were ready to, call the Chiefs fraudulent over, because They were A, winning games by a thread, or B, just looked flat out terrible, right? You go back to the Bills game last year where Kadarius Toney lined up on the in the neutral zone, right? You go back to the Packers game where there was that PI that should have counted or whatever. There were multiple games where there were missed opportunities after missed opportunities, and it culminated in a just a loss to the Raiders that made the Chiefs look like they did not have a shot at winning the Super Bowl. Yet they turned it around, right? I think that this is a long regular season. Losses are going to happen that are going to be weird. There's going to be some abnormal results. I mean, you had the Ravens losing to the Browns for Pete's sakes, right? I just think that when it comes down to it, if I'm going into a playoff series and I had my pick of Russell Wilson, I had my pick of Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, I'm taking Patrick Mahomes every day of the week, right? I mean, literally, like we've seen what this team can do. We know this defense is scary. We know the offense, when it gets to full strength, is going to be very good. I just think it's way too early to overreact about a loss to the Bills, in which the Chiefs showed a lot of fight and were 1 4th down conversion away from probably winning that game, right? So I think it'll be, they got 2 cupcakes next few weeks. They got the Panthers, they got the Raiders. They're going to be 11-1 going up against the Chargers. I could see that game kind of going either way. At the end of the day, this is going to be a 12-13 win team. They're going to compete for the 1 seed. If you give them home field advantage, you give them a week to scheme on a team like the Bills or the Ravens, I'm sorry, but I'll chalk that up to a Kansas City win.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Blaise, for joining us. We appreciate it. Austin appreciates it. And thank you all for listening. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And, of course, Blaise, you will be back. We are cooking some stuff up. Make sure you're on the lookout for that. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit the button for notifications. Also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for updates on our episodes, as we are keeping up the daily streak. And thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.